Chapter 24. Fighting Li Wei. In the fighting arena, the melee opened above the mountain peaks in all directions, but the voices of countless gamblers and cultivators were horrified. Hiss, hiss. Evil people. They're wearing masks and they're actually villains. Evil people from the Evil People Valley. The evil people have all escaped. They've come for revenge. What terrifying villains. Their fighting power. They are actually so ferocious. In the past, watching the wicked people from the audience was just a pastime, knowing that this group of wicked people were ferocious, but they didn't take it seriously because they were all locked up in cages. The vicious beasts in the cage, even if they were ferocious, couldn't harm themselves, so what was there to worry about? But now, this group of vicious beasts had all come out of their cages and were organized. How terrifying should this organized fighting force be? It was evident from the battle in that Colosseum. Fighting power was only one aspect. The key was that this group was incomparably ferocious. Directly tearing their opponents apart, even more vicious. They also used their mouths to tear, and after tearing off a piece of flesh and blood, they directly swallowed it. Countless gamblers and cultivators all had their scalps numb for a while. This group of villains, too terrifying. Some of the gambling cultivators originally saw this scene and were prepared to make an autumn breeze, but when they got close and saw the bloody scene, they immediately turned their heads and left. It's evil, fuck, it's evil, a group of gambling cultivators screamed in horror. In the blink of an eye, the Great Abundance gang disciples nearly wiped out, and those who were alive were all restrained. It had only been a short while, and this combat power had already sent chills down the hearts of countless gambling cultivators. Look, Gang Master Li flew over. Gang Leader Li is at the Yuanying realm, but those villains are only at the innate realm and Jindan realm. Can the villains outmaneuver Gang Master Li? Yuanying realm. What a powerful aura. Countless gamblers and cultivators in all directions stared at the center of the arena. The battle ended in the distance. However, it was the more than 2,000 villains, led by Gu Hai, who were facing the Dafeng gang leader, Li Wei, head-on. Gu Hai stepped forward, followed by the 4 ministers. All the villains had grim faces, facing the powerful aura of the Yuanying realm. Although they couldn't resist it, all of them were pleasantly unafraid. Under Li Wei's powerful Yuanying realm aura, the storm wind blew nearly all the villains to the east as if they were going to be blown away. Actually escaped and destroyed my Dafeng gang. Only the innate realm and Jindan realm. A bunch of weak rats. Li Wei's eyes glared. Gu Hai probed his hand. Yes, snap. Shangguan Trace, Scar, Chen Chongchen, and Gao Xianzi quickly placed their hands against Gu Hai's back. Rumble. After the crowd, behind the 4 major ministers, each of the 4 more Bailongs put their palms against the top of each minister's back. After the Bailongs, the Shishanlongs, after the Shishanlongs, the ordinary subordinates, quickly one on top of the other. With Gu Hai as the initial, each layer behind is stacked in multiples of 4, palms against the back of a crowd. In the twinkling of an eye, stack swings, forming 7 layers of stack swings. Gu Hai stood in the first place, in a fan shape. All the people topped with the aura of the Yuanying realm, with a grimace on their faces. Release. Gu Hai let out a loud shout. Drink. The evil person on the 7th level let out a loud shout, and steeply rolls of true chi emerged from his hands straight above the backs of the people on the 6th level. Drink. The 6th layer also let out a loud shout, also releasing true chi and pouring it into the 5th layer person's body, while at the same time directing the true chi from the 7th layer along. Boom, boom, boom. Layer by layer, the true chi was transmitted towards the front, the 4th layer, the 3rd layer, and the 2nd layer. When they reached the 2nd layer, where Gao Xianzi, Chen Chongchen, Scar, and Shangguan Scar were, the 4 of them, apart from Shangguan Scar, who had changed without a change in color, the other 3 were all red in the face. The true chi instilled by the people at the back was too fierce. If one's own true chi was a small stream, Then what came from the back was a rushing river. This river, like true qi, if left in the body, would soon be able to burst itself. Poof! Gao Xianzi's cultivation was the weakest, and a mouthful of blood was spewed out, but the true qi used from the rear was too violent, and he was a bit overwhelmed. This was still the case of Gao Xianzi transmitting his true qi to Gu Hai. He himself was just an isle. The four great rivers of true qi were all poured into Gu Hai as much as they could. This berserk power caused the four ministers to have a chill. Could His Excellency stand it? If it wasn't for the fact that His Excellency had explained earlier, no one would dare to do this. The four great ministers understood that, if they were in their place, they might have burst themselves in an instant. "My lord, is it okay?" Gao Xianzi called out worriedly. The group of villains moved very quickly. The scene just now was done in just a split second, causing Li Wei on the opposite side to change his face as well. Yuanying realm, Li Wei's aura was huge. His body was like a tornado around him, drumming up a stormy wind blowing towards the more than 2,000 villains in front of him. A powerful aura that originally seemed like it was going to blow the crowd of villains down, but at this moment, the rolling power surged towards Gu Hai. Boom! A terrifying aura also erupted around Gu Hai, and as soon as the aura came out, it was like a mountain torrent erupting, crashing towards Li Wei's aura. Boom! The two auras collided with each other with a loud bang, once again setting off debris in all directions. For a moment, Gu Hai's aura was actually no weaker than Li Wei's Yuanying realm aura in general. Li Wei's face changed, revealing a wave of anger. This is gathering the true qi of more than 2,000 evil people and converging on one person. Impossible, such a huge power. Even the flesh of the Yuanying realm can't stand it. It should have burst long ago. It should have burst. What kind of flesh is that person? So exaggerated. The four directions were in an uproar. Countless gamblers and cultivators were wide-eyed. This scene was not difficult to guess. It was not difficult for all the forces to converge in one place. But it was difficult for no one to be able to withstand that huge force R. The person who could withstand that huge power simply did not need others to converge so much. Because of this, instead of affecting the flexibility, this group of villains, weren't they only at the Jindan realm, of the innate realm? How was it possible to converge that much energy? Number 1. That's right. I remember his physical form. It's the villain from the last previous round of the Colosseum. Villain number 1. Innate realm cultivation. I don't know who shouted. Innate realm. Impossible. An innate realm's physical body. Wouldn't that have exploded long ago? Yes, that's right. It's him. He caused me to lose money. I'll never forget it. Innate realm. Number 1 villain. Rolling true qi converged on Gu Hai's body, and slowly, following Gu Hai's true qi, a purple true dragon condensed. Ang! The true dragon roared, right at the turtle-shaped monster in front of him. The qi formed a storm and crashed away, not weaker than Li Wei. Now, still feeling weak, Gu Hai coldly said. Li Wei's face changed as he looked at Gu Hai in surprise. He also marveled at the strength of Gu Hai's physical body. But, in the next moment, a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth and said, "A rat can never defeat a human being. Even if you guys stack up on top of each other, you can only be stiff." As he spoke, Li Wei probed his hand and chopped a sword towards Gu Hai. As soon as the sword came out, dozens of sword qi emerged, accompanied by a huge sword dipper rushing straight towards Gu Hai. Where the dipper arrived, it seemed like it was chopping apart the storm winds, emitting sharp bursts of air-breaking sounds. Gu Hai showed a scowl on his face as he probed his hand and slammed his fist towards the sword dipper. Boom! Steeply, as Gu Hai punched out, a 3-zhong large purple fist dome condensed in the void, and the dome blatantly slammed into the sword dome. Boom! With a loud bang, the earth below shook violently. The fist dipper and the sword dipper actually split evenly, The fist dipper shattered apart, and the sword dipper sword chi also crumbled up. HMPH. Think converging power will do. You can't move at all. Kid, you're totally looking for death. Li Wei's face turned cold as his body shape scurried, about to avoid facing Gu Hai head on and cut the group of villains away from the side. Li Wei's idea was right. For Gu Hai to move, he had to organize more than 2,000 people to cooperate. It was simply inconvenient to move with empty power. It was simply difficult to use it flexibly. Gao Xianzi and the others were incredibly anxious. They simply could not move. Li Wei Yuanying realm body shape scampered to the back of the crowd. It was simply a total massacre. The crowd of villains all revealed a worried look. Li Wei had already flown behind the crowd. The corner of his mouth revealed a cold smile. A sword chopped again. Want to die? I will slowly send you all to your deaths. I will seal your cultivation once again and send you back to the Evil Man Valley. As for the offense you committed this time, each rat leave a claw. Boom. A sword chopped out, and 100 sword chi rushed straight at the crowd of villains. It rushed straight at the right arm of the crowd of evildoers, transmitting true chi to Gu Hai, as if it was going to chop off the right arm of 100 people in an instant as a punishment. And accompanying the 100 sword chi was a huge sword dipper that went straight at the back of Gu Hai's head. This time, it was even more ferocious than the one just now. Gu Hai's back was to Li Wei. His body was inconvenient, and as he watched, he was about to be chopped under the sword dipper. So what if you gather the power of evil people? Can't act, can only be slaughtered. Yeah, it's a pity. It turns out to be just an embroidered pillow. The innate realm is the innate realm. It can never defeat the Yuanying realm. Countless gambling cultivators immediately shook their heads and sighed. As the threat of death struck, all the villains were sweating, and at this moment, all of their faces changed wildly, not knowing what to do. My lord, Scar anxiously shouted. The huge sword dipper was about to chop the back of Gu Hai's head, but Gu Hai didn't turn his head. It was about to decapitate Gu Hai when, abruptly, a large amount of smoke emerged from the back of Gu Hai's head. Buzz! The smoke instantly spread in all directions, and from the back of Gu Hai's head, a huge blade chi steeply emerged. The blade chi was dozens of feet large, several times larger than Li Wei's sword dipper. Boom! The blade chi crashed into the sword dipper, instantly shattering it, and rose up from the sky, arriving in front of Li Wei in an instant. What? Li Wei's face changed, and he immediately punched. Boom! The fist Diane collided with it before it dissipated the sword aura. Below, the sword keys that accompanied the sword dipper also each suffered a small blade key's impact, and for a time, the sky was filled with explosions. What's going on? Countless cultivators stared at that scene with wide eyes in disbelief. Where did the saber daggers come from? That strong saber dangles? How could it have been emitted by that innate realm villain? At this moment, the rolling white mist enveloped all the villains, and vaguely, one could see what looked like a star within the white mist. This is a formation, someone steeply shouted. Formation. Li Wei's face changed. Not bad. Formation. I have power. Why do I need to fight with you for power? If I have power, I can set up a formation. Yun Qi. Release. Gu Hai let out a loud shout. Boom. With Gu Hai as the center, a sky-high fog erupted steeply. The fog was like a wild dragon, charging straight at Li Wei. Li Wei's face changed, stepping towards the sky to escape. But the fog was too fast. In an instant, it spread out to cover all the surroundings of the Colosseum. Li Wei's speed could not catch up with the speed of the fog's shrouding. And in an instant, Li Wei was shrouded in the fog. Once in the bigger A, it was like reversing the world. Li Wei instantly could not distinguish between up and down, left and right, flying quickly, but simply could not fly out of the fog area in general. What? How is it possible? Li Wei disbelievingly exclaimed. Bear Jin. Directly in front of Li Wei, a blade chi steeply emerged, charging straight at him. HMPH, playing God. Li Wei's face showed a grimace as he chopped away with his sword. Bear yin, bear jin, bear yin. In all directions, a tens of feet of sword chi suddenly appeared and rolled wildly towards Li Wei. A death threat instantly made Li Wei have a jolt. No, it can't be. Li Wei shrieked as he quickly chopped out the sword dipper. There is no impossibility. It's just that you are ignorant. Gu Hai's voice accompanied the sword chi and went straight at Li Wei. Boom! In the middle of the fog, a loud roaring sound was heard. Outside, countless gamblers and cultivators stared at the arena area with wide eyes. The rolling fog had filled and covered the four directions, and all of them did not expect that the situation would be so reversed. Innate realm, how is it possible to set up a formation? Many cultivators said incredulously. On top of a mountain peak, the Nine Duke, but his pupils shrunk and said, Heavenly Sword Life and Death Bureau.